bring back in attorney Anton Bell and welcome in retired police lieutenant Mike Gould to the conversation as well. Okay, Anton, with no body cases, they're largely fact-specific, are they not, in terms of how strong they are? Would you explain to us how that works?
So, yes, they are, because with no body cases, you are relying 100% on circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence that, first of all, the person is dead. Circumstantial evidence that the person that's charged is the one that committed the act. Typically, there is a puzzle that you have to piece together for the jury or the judge. You have to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt that all the facts and circumstances beyond just your typical things that you would see in a case like your DNA and your forensic or your bloody crime scene or maybe even a confession, all those things that's typically going to be involved in your case may not be there. However, the facts that do remain are so clear and they're so concrete that when you put them all together, it makes sense that this person is absolutely the individual that killed the person, and then they dispose of the body so that he will hide or she will hide the evidence that that person was murdered by that particular suspect.
Yes, and looking at that video there, oh, he's admiring himself as he's looking into his reflection in that security camera and slicking back his hair, smiling. This is on January the 4th. 2023. This is the day that he reported on a missing, but we know that in this video at this moment, he knows she's dead. He's dismembered her. He knows that. And look at him smiling. Lieutenant Mike Gould, you have served for many years in law enforcement, and we thank you for that. You've investigated so many different criminals during your time. Tell me, how dangerous do you think Brian Walshe really is?
Well, personally, I think he's a monster, but what's most scary is this is a person that could be at my Christmas party next week. He could be my stockbroker. So if we have a stereotype of what a monster looks like, he's not that. He could be anybody. He's articulate, he's social. But agreeing with Anton, you know, nobody homicides, and I've been involved in a few regarding cadaver dogs and human remains search dogs. So in some way, this case has a lot of blood evidence, more than the droplets that may be found in your bathroom, or there seemed to be a substantial amount of blood on the carpeting and stuff. So it almost crosses over to, that is human remains in theory, a large volume of blood. So the circumstantial evidence here is so overwhelming. He would have been damned if he does that. What was he going to do? How is he going to explain to 12 reasonable people that he dismembered the mother of his children to the extent he wanted to know how to remove her teeth? I mean, this is a crazy thing. So I think the evidence, regardless if he of course, people were surprised by the fact that he's not testifying. But Michael Brown, in one of your previous segments, maybe something happened in the last 24 hours as they were prepping for today. He may have made a statement or something. So, I mean, I see this as going nowhere but guilt, in my opinion.
I'm with you, Lieutenant. Yeah, and for anybody who missed that, Michael J. Brown brought up a great point, and we have no way of knowing this, but I think it's really worth discussing. So he brought up the point that when you're a defense attorney, if you have a client who confesses to committing the crime to you, that's fine. It happens all the time. However, if they confess, but they want to insist on getting on the stand and lying about it, then you have an obligation as an attorney not to participate in that, or else you would be doing what's called suborning perjury. You would be helping your client commit a fraud on the court. That's against the rules of professional responsibility. You could lose your license. It's a crime. You could be criminally charged. So Michael brought up the great point that, you know, what's said in the confines of a lawyer-client relationship is protected. However, you cannot allow your client to lie to a jury if they wish to. Now, here we don't know if Brian Walshe did this. We don't know if he confessed to it. But Michael brought up the point that so suddenly it seemed like a change of position. It seemed like his defense team was planning for him to testify. It seemed like the judge was planning for him to testify. Anton Bell, you know what it's like being a prosecutor, which is such a hard job. I can't stress it enough. It is really hard. Many days, you know, it's thankless. You got everybody mad at you. You have, you know, defendants mad, defense attorneys, police, the judge. It is really hard to serve as a prosecutor, and, you know, and do the right thing and do right by the law and do right by your victims. And here, I would think that they have to be, you know, sitting there like heads spinning going, okay, we thought today was going to be about crossing a medical expert and crossing a defendant. Anton, how do you reset yourself when you're in those positions and you get thrown a curveball like today?
So, Julie, one of the things that I'm always mindful of whenever I'm trying a case, particularly a high-profile case, is distractions is your greatest enemy. You have to always stay and remain focused. The best teams are the ones that know how to pivot in the moment. And so regardless of whatever is thrown your way as a litigator, you have to always be ready to pivot whenever there is something that's going to take place that you may not have been aware of or wasn't counting on. Now, everybody was ready for this defendant to take the stand because, as the opening statement, he gave a great opening statement, and he needed the defendant to take the stand in order to be able to validate what he shared in the opening statement. Nonetheless, the prosecution has to be able to pivot now that he has not taken a stand and focus on their case, focus on the puzzle that they put together, that they pieced together, focus on their narrative that they've been putting out and laying out this entire trial. And to me, I think it's advantageous for them to be able to do that, because now you don't have the red herring. You don't have the distraction, and you don't have something that the jurors could potentially get tripped up on. So focus on your narrative, put it out there, get to the end zone.
I really appreciate your assessment, Anton, and value it. You know, coming from a very seasoned prosecutor, you look at this case, you kind of take a step back and you say, well, wait a minute, so who's got the advantage? You know, with the trial, it's like a ball game. You know, it changes kind of day by day. I always like to say this side maybe won this day, this side won that day. And you're right, these prosecutors should look at it as perhaps a big advantage that they can just focus on the close. Great insight from you both. Stand by kindly. Anton, I believe we're going to have to let you go. Thank you for staying extra long for us this morning. Appreciate that so much. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you, in case we don't see you. Lieutenant Gould is coming along with his beautiful Christmas tree, might I say, in the background. We're going to talk more about this case, how Anna Walshe's body was never recovered. You know, and what does that do to this case overall? What does that do for her family overall? They weren't able to have a proper burial for her. We're thinking about her family at this time, especially those children who are growing up now without their mom. The disappearance of mother Anna Walshe.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walshe was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walshe murder trial. Live coverage today on CourtTV.
Thanks so much for being with us here on CourtTV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Let me show you the trials we're tracking for you right now. In Ohio, we've got testimony underway in the murder trial of defendant Paul Hicks. This guy's accused of murdering his wife, Regina, more than 20 years after her body was found inside of her car in a pond. We'll follow that one. Plus, in New Hampshire, sentencing for defendant Dustin Duran happening this morning. This guy was found guilty of murdering the mother of his children, Caitlin Nafziger. And in Massachusetts, no defense case put on by the lawyers representing Brian Walshe. That is the decision from Massachusetts. What impact will it have? Well, we're going to find out as closing arguments are going to be underway tomorrow, and we'll bring them to you live. As you know, Anna Walshe's body has never been found. Let's listen back to some of what her husband Brian told police.
How do you explain at, well, 4:54 in the morning,
the iPad here, the iPad and he is querying the 10 best ways to dispose of the human body.
Thomas is in his room with the iPad, or Thomas is usually in. I mean, I don't use that iPad.
There is dozens of searches in that iPad on the morning of the 1st that ask how to dispose of the human body, how to get blood out of hardwood floors, how to dispose of a body in the trash, how to stop a body from decomposing, and how do you explain that?
I have no idea.
The legal stress?
I just represented a Warhol piece.
What's your representation?
I had some art, and I lost money on it, and I just represented it to another person in the gallery in L.A.
Okay.
And then the FBI got involved, and I was arrested. Some of the money had been returned, but none of the money that was in the bank check, and then things were postponed.
Okay.
And then things continued to be postponed, and that's so I'm kind of locked down here at the house. Part of my sentence was home confinement. I don't want to hide anything from you because if that could lead to finding my wife sooner, that's the most important thing.
One of the reasons someone goes missing is because they were abused or injured or assaulted. Did you do anything to hurt your wife?
No, that's right. I wouldn't hurt my wife. I mean, I love my wife. I've always wanted to have her back. The family doesn't work without her. I mean, we can't function without her.
You guys never had a physical fight, nothing like that before?
No, not at all.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Let's bring back in our law enforcement analyst guest now. He's a retired lieutenant, served with the NYPD and also in Nassau County, where he was the commander of the police K-9 unit, Mike Gould, with us today. Lieutenant, you know, I want to tap into your experience. You're an expert witness now. You work privately in K-9 cases. You own Houndstown, USA. And so I want to talk to you about this search to find Anna Walsh's body. So let's say you were brought in at the time. At the time, police are on to, okay, this looks like a death case, not a missing persons case. They were going around searching dumpsters in the Massachusetts area close to where the Walsh home was located. How do you go about a canine search in a case like this?
Well, we always start with any missing person, regardless of a homicide or not, where they were last seen, and we work out that way. So cadaver dogs, human remain detection dogs, are trained specifically to find decomposing human tissue, and they do it very well. But in all cases, it always has to be corroborated with other scientific evidence. So in other words, if the dog, let's say my dog alerted to the dumpster where these remains or this evidence was found, and he would alert to that because there is blood evidence there, right? It's a scent signature for the dog. But that in and of itself doesn't really prove anything because scientists have to remove the DNA, which they did in this case. So the dogs are incredible detection tools, and they are trained specifically to find human tissue, blood, hair, and so forth, distinguished from other animal odors. So it's a complicated process. It's not an easy one. It's time consuming. It takes years, frankly, to develop a good cadaver dog who can discriminate between a human body opposed to an animal carcass or something. But they can be incredible. But in this case, this circumstantial evidence, it's a puzzle that gets put, the puzzle is put together very well here. There's not much missing here. So I don't see, again, in this particular case, where this is going other than to some form of guilt.
This is really helpful. I want to talk more about that with you, Lieutenant. Let's take a listen back to that voicemail. It's eerie to hear it now that Brian Walsh left for his wife's lover.
Good afternoon, Brian Walsh. I hope all is going well. I was just reaching out to basically everybody I could. Anna hasn't been in touch for a few days. I spoke to work today. She hasn't been in. They went to the house and she wasn't there. It was like she's been there recently. So just wondering if you've spoken to her in the near, recently, like Sunday or the last 2 days. Just so let me know, or if you know anyone that might have that contact with her, calling everyone. So sorry to bother you. Sure, everything's fine, and we should.
Ooh, how calm and cool he is. He's a smooth liar. Lieutenant, I know you've seen his type before. A guy like this, defendant like that, who can lie with such ease. How diabolical do you think Brian Walshe is?
There's no doubt diabolical is a great word for him. But again, these are people that live in our community. We don't know, you don't know what evil lurks in the minds of people. Nobody does, you know? So it is scary. As I said earlier, a person like him could be at our Christmas party this week. But regarding the evidence, the circumstantial evidence, kind of funny. I was thinking about this because if you check my computer searches, because of the kind of work I do research decomposing bodies. How long does it take to, I'm involved in a search right now upstate involving a missing person. So where was I? I was at Home Depot getting certain items that if I come across, so I'm buying shovels, I'm buying things to prods to open up air so a dog could actually feel. So these things can be kind of scary, but you have a man that's telling us that you don't nudge a body, number one. Anybody who try to move a 110-pound dead body, you don't nudge them. It's physically exhausting to actually pick them up and move them. So this concept that he nudged once, then nudged a little harder, this is incredible. These things don't make any sense, and I feel as though the prosecution is just going to stay with their focus, and this cannot go anywhere. The circumstantial evidence puts together a complete jigsaw puzzle. You don't have to be you don't have to scratch your head. Any reasonable juror, I think, is going to see this as ludicrous, dismembering this person, as I said, the mother of his children. And he takes his children shopping for these death kits, so to speak. It's insane.
For the death kit, yes, well put, Lieutenant. What a great point you raised. You just really got me thinking, as you were saying, to nudge a dead body. Yeah, that doesn't happen. In opening statement, you're right, when defense counsel was saying, oh, he nudged her and she just rolls off. and you know from your experience, yeah, that's not going to happen. So that's an important point you just raised, and that experience you have, it's invaluable. Tell me, based on your experiences, cases you've worked, do you have a theory as to how, if you believe he killed Anna Walshe, it sounds like you do believe that, Lieutenant, how do you think he might have killed her?
I think he told us. He got instructions on the internet. He bought a saw and he mutilated, maybe strangled her initially, asphyxiated her.
That's what I wanted.
And then dismembered her.
Do you think that might have been the initial?
Right, cause of death. This sudden death thing, I mean, it's not going to fly. It's so rare and it doesn't make sense. But the point is the reaction. Let's say even theoretically he panicked. Maybe you would throw the body in your car and run up someplace and dispose of it. You don't start mutilating it in your house with your children in the house to the point where, again, as I said earlier, it's not really, in my view, a no-body homicide because blood is human remains, and there's a volume of it. We're not talking about little droplets in the garage or little droplets in the bathroom. You had a volume of blood that would indicate a deceased body. So all of these things to me are incredible, and I don't even know why. So yeah, no, I don't buy this 1 second.
Lieutenant, you got me thinking, these prosecutors really need to lean into what you're saying here about how you may not have a whole human body that the family would like to have to properly bury, and that as a prosecutor you would like to have to be given a proper autopsy, but you're right. Parts of her body, blood, tissue, things she was wearing on her body were left behind. So you're right. There's a story there. And these pieces of her body, even, in the form that they were left in, are going to be really key for understanding just how this death occurred. Great insight, Lieutenant Gould, as always. Stand by, please. We'll hit our break. When we come back, more coverage live next.
For you.
Have you made a decision about whether you wish to testify at this trial?
Yes, I have.
And what is your decision?
I will not testify.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. A big day this morning as Brian Walshe has made the decision not to testify in his upcoming trial. The defense team not putting on a case at all, and the jury can't hold that against them. Apparently, they're under the belief that they got everything they need to get out of the Commonwealth's witnesses. We know they put on some really intense cross-examination efforts with Commonwealth witnesses who could offer things favorable to their theory, which is sudden, unexplainable death. Let's go back to some of the cross of the medical examiner. Here, they're going over crime scene photos.
When you do an autopsy, what attempts do you make to get access to a decedent's medical records?
We make every attempt we can to access their medical records. In Massachusetts, the law is that we're entitled to them in Massachusetts.
And when performing an autopsy, what samples do you take from the body during an autopsy for further analysis?
We take fluids and sometimes tissue for toxicology testing. We also take it sometimes for DNA testing, for looking at under the microscope, various different things.
And can you tell us what histology is?
Yes.
What is histology?
Histology is the study of tissue by looking at it under the microscope.
And how many times have you ever testified in a court before giving your a medical opinion?
Yes.
Now, on January 10th, 2023, did you have the opportunity to seize items taken from a trash facility in Peabody?
Yes.
Where did you do that?
At the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Boston.
Why were you examining items opposed to, well, why were you examining items at the OCME?
Normally, we're not involved in examining items, just bodies of people. In this case, the objective was to determine whether there was any human tissue on these items.
I may have a moment, Your Honor.
May.
Thank you. Doctor, you recognize this image?
Yes.
And what is this an image of?
This is an image of several pieces of blue and white carpet that I examined.
Commonwealth would seek to have this image marked as the next exhibit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
I see that.
Yes, I apologize, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes. I will publish. Thank you. I will also put it in the record each month.
Yes. So for the record, what's the JPEG number of 178 that's now in evidence?
It's PC 110181.
All right. The photo of the rug with that JPEG number is now in evidence as 178.
And Your Honor, may the Commonwealth publish?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gilman, we have PC 110181. Doctor, can you see that?
Yes.
So, Doctor, can you tell us what are we looking at here in this image?
There were 7, though I think some of them are not in the image, 7 pieces of rolled up blue and white carpet with some stains on them, and the pieces of debris that you can see just above the ruler were also present on some of the pieces of carpet.
And who places the ruler there?
I do.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Do you recognize this image, sir?
Yes.
Is that one of the pieces of carpet that you had the opportunity to examine?
Yes.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth would seek to enter into evidence PC 110195, image of carpet.
Okay, we're going to hit pause right here. When we come back, we're going to examine the testimony of Anna Walshe's lover. Was the affair a motive for murder? We'll be right back. The disappearance of mother Anna Walshe.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walshe was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walshe murder trial. Live coverage today on CourtTV.
Back into the courtroom, let's go. Let's watch the cross-examination of Anna Walshe's lover.
You had also mentioned that there was an argument, I guess, on or around Christmas Day between Anna Walshe and Brian Walshe, right?
Yes.
Okay. And am I correct? Excuse me. Am I correct that this argument was because she was delayed in coming home?
Yes.
Christmas Day?
Yes.
Okay. And so it's Christmas Day, they have 3 sons, and her flight gets canceled, and she's late coming up, right?
Yes.
And so from what you talked to her about, that was upsetting to Mr. Walshe.
Yes.
The property that she purchased for the family, that was about $1.3 million?
Yes.
And was it paid for in cash? Was there a mortgage?
I believe there was a mortgage.
Okay. And it was a 4-floor townhouse?
Yes.
How many bedrooms?
4.
4. So 1 for each boy, and then a master bedroom for Mr. Walshe and Anna Walshe?
Correct.
Okay. When you initially became friends with Anna Walshe, I think you said you would communicate with her through text message and Instagram?
Yes.
And Instagram, you said it's private. I think the kids say DM, you would DM each other?
Sure.
Okay. So when you were communicating on Facebook, you weren't posting romantic, intimate messages on her public Facebook page?
I was not.
Okay. And I think you had told us that you would comment on her page, but would you comment like, love you, can't wait to see you soon? Or would it be something like, oh, fun night or great pic?
It was more the latter.
Okay. So they weren't flirtatious, open messages?
No.
Okay. And you had mentioned on her Instagram that I think, or maybe you didn't, she would post a lot.
Yes.
Okay. You were never in any of those photographs.
I believe that she referenced me in one of those photographs. She had attended a yoga event that I had hosted.
Okay.
And she had posted a picture of herself at that event, and I believe that she had tagged me in that photo.
Well, you were the host, right?
Yes.
You set it up.
Yes.
So she went, it was like, hashtag thanks Will for yoga type thing.
Yes.
Okay. And your Instagram page, you weren't posting pictures of the 2 of you on that page.
I was not.
Okay. The timeline of your relationship with Anna, how quickly did it go from friends to more than friends?
Fairly quickly.
Bless you. So were you intimate with her after a week, after a month? When did you start becoming intimate?
To be honest, I don't remember the exact moment,
okay.
But I know it was very shortly after her move to Washington, D.C.
Okay. You had mentioned, I think, that things had gotten more serious in July, so it had been going on for a few months at that point?
That's correct.
Okay. So from the spring of 2022 through New Year's Eve of 2022, during your conversations or time with Anna Walshe, she never told you that Brian was suspicious of you?
I had asked Anna what Brian's reaction would be if she ever found out.
My question is not what you asked her. My question is, at no point did she ever come to you concerned and say, I think my husband knows I have an affair or he's suspicious of you?
We had one episode where Brian called me while we were out to dinner And I showed the phone to Anna because it was unusual for Brian to call me. Anna then later called Brian, and Brian had claimed that one of their children had taken his phone and called me by accident. That would be the closest thing that had happened where we felt concerned that maybe Brian had found out.
The text messages that you turned over to the police, is it fair to say that the police asked you questions about whether or not you had any information that Mr. Walshe had discovered your affair with his wife?
Yes, I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We know the lover's testimony really key to this case. I got a great question sent in to us by Christine. Christine, thank you for the question and for watching the program. So she was wondering what we talked about earlier with Michael J. Brown about if a defendant confesses to their lawyer in private that they did a crime. And Christine asked, great question, are the lawyers obligated to tell the judge, or is it confidential? It is confidential. It must stay confidential. That relationship between the lawyer and client is sacred. The only time the lawyer has an obligation is to not suborn perjury. So they can't know that their client did it and then allow their client to get on the stand and say that they didn't do it. That would be committing a fraud on the court. Great question. Let's bring back in for some final thoughts Lieutenant Mike Gould with us this morning. Lieutenant, tomorrow, big day with the closing arguments. Tell me, is there either side that you think is going to have to do more work tomorrow with the jury when it comes time to argue the final positions?
No, I don't think so. And by the way, that was an excellent question. Not being an attorney, I didn't know the answer to that myself. So thanks, Julie, for clearing that up in the back of my mind. Sure. But no, I think the prosecution just has to stay with its story. These things, the testimony from the boyfriend, this is just a distraction. It has nothing to do with the murder or the evidence they have. The totality of the facts and circumstances, in my opinion, are overwhelming. And they just have to stick with their story, or I should say with their theory. And I just don't see how this is not beyond a reasonable doubt by reasonable jurors, regardless of the text messaging. Although, as I said before, I'm involved in a case where I'm looking for a no-body homicide victim upstate New York in the springtime. So I'm ordering things in the mail. I'm ordering shovels. I'm ordering. So God forbid, I don't know why people don't do what I always do, Julie. We cover these cases all the time. Just get divorced.
Yeah, just get divorced. Exactly, Lieutenant. You're the best.
Do it all the time.
We'll be right back.